to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Really want to thank everybody that's subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you like the videos, beloveds, so that more and more people get to see them. And thanks to everyone who has joined us on Patreon. We're sharing books on there. There's a book we just shared, which is confirmation of the native Indian, African tribes, whatever you want to call them, the melanated tribes of Native America, the fact that the black people were the native Indians. So these are some of the things that we share on that platform, but those are definitely stories for other days. Breaking news, actually it is still breaking news coming out of Guinea, where we've witnessed another coup, beloveds. This is like the third coup in West Africa in about 5 months. And, it's just after France left. I'll definitely do a separate show on what is France's involvement in everything that's happening. But President Alpha Conde, he's the one, beloveds, who donated 2 million euros to, when what's that cathedral called? I've even forgotten. Was it the Notre Dame Cathedral? Well, he was one of the ones who, the Notre Dame Cathedral in France, when it burned down in 2018, he was one of the people. 2 million euros is what he gave France while his people were still languishing in poverty. He had his 2 presidential terms, and then he decided that he wanted to run for a third term and he wasn't going to step down. So he switched up the constitution and, and allowed him to run for a third term. And then when he ran for a third term, obviously he won. And he put himself, installed himself as a president. And he was declared the winner in a landslide victory. Like, these things aren't going to work anymore. We're in new seasons and times. Like, these presidents need to recognize that. Because the thing is, anyone who has power right now is going to do everything they can to hold on to it. But, at his swearing-in ceremony, 82 years old, that's how old he was. He appealed for unity on Guineas to forget the past and turn towards a united future. And one of the things that was very interesting is that it took France, because France has been the puppet master, and he was a puppet of France. But it's like he's trying to live beyond his expiry date. France took a really long time to congratulate him. But, they finally did once the constitutional court declared him winner, etc., etc. And then after, all the African presidents were quick to congratulate him, etc., etc. And then now, on Sunday, September 5th, barely a year, almost just before his 1-year anniversary, there was heavy gunfire in his palace or wherever mansion, presidential palace. And you see him here, he looked like he'd been roughed up with the military men, and a coup has taken place. He was arrested by soldiers who announced a takeover of power. And, there's many images of Conde. You can see them here looking extremely confused, worn out, and in the company of stern soldiers, and that has been flooding Twitter. Here, it's still trending here in Kenya, across many African nations. This is what many people are talking about. And, regardless of who is behind it or what is the purpose of it, it just shows you that the youth are seeing, enough is enough. Let's take, things into our own hands. And I told you, this is inspiring others across the continent. Like that thing of let's stick, because there's a lot of presidents that are going to be trying to extend their constitution. I swear the birds today. Anyway. So the funny thing is, the guy who actually overthrew Conde is being referred to as his umbrella man, because you can see here where he was actually holding the umbrella for Conde. So it looks like he was in the inner circle. Maybe he was his, what do they call those policemen who, or soldiers who stand behind the president? Maybe he was one of those, but you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But looks like that's who's betrayed him. He's called Lieutenant Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, and he's a high-ranking officer behind the military coup. He promised, that to set up a unity government to oversee the transition period. He did declare a curfew, however, and he said, a consultation will be launched to set down the broad parameters of the transition, and then a government of national union will be established to steer the transition. Very interesting. And he vowed, and then he called on all the former ministers to attend a meeting. I think the meeting is happening either today or it happened yesterday evening. And he asked, and he said anyone who refused to attend, it would be taken as a sign of rebellion. So are we seeing an orchestration, beloveds? Are we seeing an orchestration of France, shifting everything? Or is this truly a youth rebellion? Because we saw a lot, but it's never strange to see that. We saw a lot of young people, beloveds, out in the streets with the army, celebrating the fall of Conde. And I think African youth are just tired. As I said, we're over 75%, beloveds. And then an 82-year-old man is trying to tell, 75% of his population that are almost his grandchildren, the direction. Maybe back in the day when the elders actually had something to offer. But in this day and time, anyway, this is still developing. We will definitely be doing a separate episode on, is France involved? Because there have been 3 coups in West Africa. And is the French hand involved? Are they trying to now put in their people? Because, this Mamadi character, heavily trained by the West. In fact, I had wanted to share Kemi Seba. He actually, and if you don't follow Kemi Seba, if you really want to look into West African politics, he's been a West African activist for so long. And he released something on his official Instagram, page, which is basically karma is a, female dog. And he talks about, and he was talking about how even if this, the guy who has, even if the current coup leader is behind, is somehow being puppeteered by France or was trained by France, Alpha Conde had to go. And he says, as for the Special Forces chief who led the putsch, Mamadi Doumbouya, we have been hearing for months elements about it. Of course, he became media in his country long before the coup d'etat. Yes, he has been trained among many enemies. Yes, he has been, this is not a discovery for anyone among those who are keenly interested in Ghanaian political life. This is true. Is it easy to think that because he was trained by them, it means he will systematically work for them? This is a question we have to ask ourselves, beloveds. And then he goes on to say there are many cases in the history of the political world where the puppet rebelled against the puppeteer. We do not read in a crystal bubble, and therefore we will judge it on facts, not speculations. If he is for the Guinea people and the Pan-Africanist cause, we will support him body and soul. If he works for his trainers, we fight him. Never regret Alpha Conde. It's not that complicated. The future belongs to the people. And that's the truth. And he goes on, if you read French, but there is also a translation. Huge, huge, huge developments in Guinea, beloveds. Another coup in West Africa. I'll definitely keep you posted on the developments. Tuko pamoja.